HWA and VTC. And then we'll begin at the first row.
Good evening, everyone. Would you please stand and join us in a salute to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2013 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2012, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mrs. Larrier?
Here.
Ms. Leventhal?
Here.
Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7 provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and whereas desire this governing body to comply with the vision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood, County of Essex, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observation of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our December 3rd meeting. We have a relatively short agenda, which always means like a long meeting. The first, we're going to ask anyone who would like to make a public comment to come on up. Second, we'll have our monthly Board of Health meeting. Actually, if you don't mind, let's switch that. Let's do the longevity awards and then the Board of Health meeting. So we'll have the Employee Longevity Award ceremony, the Board of Health meeting. We have one ordinance on final passage, and that is to change the way in which we give a certificate of continued use out. We have two items for discussion. One, the Women's Club Building Historic Designation, and the second is social media and internet posting policy. We have a consent agenda, and on the consent agenda, we have resolutions awarding contracts for DPW. We have a resolution to auction off some items that are obsolete. We have a corrective action plan based on our budget. We have some a corrective action plan based on our audit, some things we're going to change. Budget transfers, payment of bills. We're going to be appointing KNTM architectural advisors for the Maplewood Village Post Office project. And then we have approval of the November 18th closed session minutes. Did we get the open?
Yes.
We did, and the open session minutes. And that will be it. Oh, not. We'll go back after that. After the consent agenda, we have another public comment period. We have reports from departments, administrative reports, reports from elected officials, and that will be it after that. So with that, we'll start off with anyone who would like to make a public comment, speak to the Township Committee. We ask you to come up, give us your name and address, and share your views with us.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Collins, for the record, the Essex County Liaison to the Township of Maplewood. I have a couple of announcements for you this evening, and of course I'll take any questions if there are any. Beginning at December 6th, the county will celebrate the 2013 Essex County Holiday Light Spectacular at the Essex County South Mountain Recreation Complex, which, as you know, also encompasses the Turtleback Zoo. That's at 560 Northfield Avenue in West Orange, New Jersey. Carousel rides are $2. This is a free event, by the way, but we do ask for contributions or donations of non-perishable food, new unwrapped toys, excuse me, and new and gently used winter coats for the needy. So that's commencing December 6th through January 1st from 5 to 9 p.m. We're closed December 24th and 25th, but it is a delightful event, so do come out and join us. And then this weekend, Saturday, December 7th and Sunday, December 8th, we will host the Historic Holiday House Tour. Historic homes throughout Essex County will open their doors in unison for one spectacular weekend. Each will be dressed for the holiday season while offering entertainment, refreshments, or educational information. Fees and times vary, so if anyone watching or listening is interested, please call 973-239-2465. That's 973-239-2465. Those are announcements for the evening. Are there any questions
Anyone have any questions of Ms. Collins?
of any kind? Or
Of any kind.
Messages to convey?
You have a flyer or something for the holiday? For the
I
light-
do. I have actually left copies of these announcements with the clerk, with Ms. Fritzen. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for coming out. Is there anyone else who would like to address the Township Committee at this time?
Virginia Kirshan, Historic Preservation Commission. I came out tonight because I saw on the agenda that you're going to be discussing the designation possibility of the former Women's Club building. So I wanted to be here in case there were questions that came up. I understand it's not a hearing, it's not a formal discussion, but I just want to remind you once again of something that we've said many times previously, that designations of municipally owned property are, the Historic Preservation Commission is advisory only. We are not, there's nothing that we do that you can't undo, or we advise the Township Committee. It's not regulatory. So, and if anybody had any other questions prior to your discussion, I'm here
Or maybe during our discussion.
if you want. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
Good evening. Julie Martini, 12 Briarcliff Court. Once a year, we get these letters from you, dear property owner, with the fourth quarter bills. And this is a really great letter. It details, it has this chart of how $1,000 in property taxes is divided. The problem is, it doesn't give enough information, and so really there are some other things that I'd like to see, just because I think it would be important. So, Mayor DeLuca, I'm going to give you. I'd really like to know what, excuse me?
Could you just raise the microphone a little bit?
Sure.
Do you have enough of those for everyone, by any chance?
Excuse me?
Do you have enough of those for everyone, by any chance?
Don't,
Oh, okay. Great. Oh, thank you.
On a quarterly basis, I'd really like to know what the total tax revenues are that are collected here in their totality. I'd like to know how much taxes you expect to collect, because it became apparent to me when I couldn't find my copy of the letter and I went to the tax assessor's office to get another copy that they didn't have, and they had to open up an envelope from a property owner's, I guess, place that had been returned, right, mail that had been returned. So it's clear that there are some people who have disappeared. I'd like to know the number of residences here, residential entities and also commercial entities, and how many of these are actually paying their taxes and how many, and then we can figure out how many are not. I want to know the amount that's retained by the township. I'd like to know how much is passed on to South Orange Maplewood School District and on to Essex County, the local open space trust fund, and the county open space trust fund. I think I have, and the amount that's passed on to the library. Is that something that's doable?
That information exists, and you can get that information from the finance office.
Okay, and that's here in the finance office. Where is their office? I don't.
Where the tax collection office is.
Okay.
But our chief financial officer has been in the hospital,
Okay.
and we just brought on a temporary chief financial officer who started today.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is maybe, there's two things. We can have you come in and take a look at a copy of our audit. All that information's in the audit, but that is a reflection of 2012. So that would give you all that information, 2012. You can take a look. We have a copy in the clerk's office, the audit. So you can go in there and they can set you up somewhere to sit down and you can look through it.
Has a lot more than just this, but
And
Right. The problem is I took a look at your budget, and unless you're an insider, I didn't understand half of it.
well, if you look
So
at the audit, you'll find that there's a summary sheet with all this information. I think one thing that's useful to understand, the town is the tax collector for the town, the school, the county, and all these open space funds, and those people are paid 100% of the dollars that they budget to get paid for. So if we collect taxes for everyone, we pay everybody else,
So if there's a shortfall, it falls on the township.
which is why you'll see in our budget and in the audit that we have to keep a reserve for uncollected taxes.
Yeah, I saw that on your budget. I did.
And the reserve for uncollected taxes is a calculation that comes from the state that's a function of how many people are on time with their taxes. And the amount of money that we have to keep in reserve is relatively low because our collection rate is pretty high.
It's pretty high.
but I would suggest to you that the audit it's a very easy read because there are actual pages of the kinds of information, how much to open space, to the county, how much goes to the school board. It has it for different years, so you can track it. You can just sit there and look at it, and I would suggest start there and maybe come up with questions, and then we can
Okay.
get them addressed.
It's cool.
And that you can get in the, we don't have that online, right, the audit?
Not the audit.
Okay.
Mayor, I have really enough copies where you could certainly borrow one.
All righty. Okay.
Take it out like the library.
Correct.
You made me forget what I was going to say. I attended a Board of Education meeting, and they discussed the fact that a demographic study was done, I believe probably for South Orange Maplewood. Is it possible for that to be put up online so that people like me could read it?
We didn't do it. You'd have to ask the board.
You have to ask the board.
We
okay.
didn't do it.
All right.
I mean, the best stuff that exists is the census.
The census done in 2010.
Yeah.
But the demographic study was interesting because they projected an increase in the school-age population of at least 5%. And so
Well, that's the school has a projector, has a
demographer.
Has a demographer, right, who projects that stuff. So that's the school board. You'd have to get that information from them.
Okay, I'll bother them. I know I've spoken to you about the station house before, and I've come to the conclusion that I can't decide if it's good or bad for Maplewood. That
You could ask us.
I'm sure you think that it's great. It's just that in my corner, my northeast corner of Maplewood, I'm looking at it very selfishly. It's not really great for us because none of us can afford the rent. So that's just my 2 cents. The other day I was coming down Burnett Avenue, though, and I was kind of surprised to see 2 new apartment buildings. And then I discovered online today a document from 2006 where it outlines the development plans for, I believe it's 11 acres in the Hilton section that includes the old Verizon building and the Universal Chain building, which is now Maplewood Crossing. That was done in 2006. You held a meeting at the Seth Boyden School for community input. What happened between 2006 and 2013? That's an awful lot of time to go by in implementing the plan. Were you doing other things there that necessitated that kind of delay?
The collapse of the real estate market in the country?
Well, and that leads to my next question, which is, given that you did a community meeting in 2006 and people might have had certain ideas and opinions at that time, after the collapse and everything else, why wasn't another community meeting held?
There's a redevelopment plan that's been approved for that site, and subsequent to 2006, the Supreme Court has made it very difficult for any municipality to take property by eminent domain.
Right.
And the owners of the property, which the bulk of that property, the two properties that are the bulk of that, one is where the Maplewood Crossing is being built. And that's part of the plan.
Yeah, it's the Universal Chain, the old
Right,
Universal
the old
Chain
Universal
site.
Chain. The second is the old Verizon property. And the owner of that property has had it fully rented for a very long time by two tenants, one being the state of New Jersey, and the second being the Maplewood Fencing Alliance.
Right.
And has absolutely no interest in selling that piece of property. And the other piece of property, or the other couple of pieces of property there, one is a former car storage lot. Is owned by the family of Wyman Ford, and there's some issues of contamination on that site. And the other is a former industrial site where there was Maplewood Building Specialties. That place is bankrupt. The property has been foreclosed. We have talked to some developers who have been interested in doing things there. It's a very awkward piece of property. It's landlocked except for one car exit onto Boyden Avenue. And frankly, we've talked to 3 or 4 people, including the bank, that has an interest in unloading it, and nobody can make a go of it. So the plan is still in effect. If the changes ever occur, then we would certainly look. It's not a place that, based on all the analysis that we've had over the years, where you could attract the businesses, because it's an off-road place. Not going to be able to put stuff there, so.
Might be perfect for artists, though.
Well, if you want to build it, we can work with you to make you the designated developer. You know, the thing about this is, you know, the town's not the builder. The town's the facilitator. You have to have somebody who wants to build it. So if artists want to come, or somebody wants to build artist housing, which the plan, by the way, talks about work-live space, to encourage artists to live there, we certainly would entertain that, but it has to have somebody with money and an interest in developing it. The town's not the developer.
Right. Who owned the land? Did Universal Chain always own the land, or
yeah,
was it
you know,
abandoned,
I think we have to cut you because we got a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's
you know,
true.
if you have questions you want to submit, we can answer those questions. But yes, Universal Chain, someone subsequently bought it and sold it to the Maplewood Crossing people.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else want to speak to the Township Committee now? If not, you're going to have a chance at the end of the meeting, in case we say something that sparks your interest, if anyone remains. We're now going to we'll close the public comment period and move to the Employee Longevity Awards ceremony. Mr. Manning will handle this, and we will go down there so that we can shake your hand and wish you congratulations and all that.
I always hold that for you.
For those of you who have never met him, this is the Assistant Township Administrator, Cesar Correa. So just say hi on your way down. He's going to help me now. 6 months, it could be, yes, right. Once a year, we give recognition to people who have hit 5-year milestones in their service in the township as employees. And it's always a great opportunity to meet you who have come to those milestones. I don't get to see everybody every day, so this is a good opportunity. So we're gonna start off we're gonna do it this year by departments. We used to do them by years. So we're gonna start off with administration, and we have Roger Desiderio, our township attorney, has 20 years. 20 years. So, all right, take there. Yes, congratulations, Roger. And if people are not here, we'll put their badge aside, and tomorrow we will give them out at the department head meeting. Under building department, we have Janet Lanier at 10 years. Is Janet here? Okay. We have Robert Mittermeier, 30 years. Okay. Thank you. We have April Miller, 10 years in finance. Congratulations, Bob. We have Deborah Roy, celebrating her 5th year anniversary. Okay, Deborah's not here. We're going to go on to the fire department, where we have Wayne Crowell, 10 years of service. Yeah, anybody? Okay. All right, hold your applause. John Kozak III, 15 years. Greg Giordano, 15 years. Michael DiMartini, 15 years. Yay! Okay. And we have Joseph Alvarez, 15 years. There must have been a real retirement in that year. And Angelo Fiorenza for 15 years. So is Angelo here? Yay. Hey, congratulations, Mike. Thank you. Okay, and Dennis Wiest for 20 years. Yay, Dennis. Congratulations. All right. We're going to head over now to the library, and we have Stacy Barnett, 5 years. Stacy here? Okay. Congratulations. All right. We have Joy Noah. No, I'm saying this wrong. Can you help me here? Sarah? No. Okay. No. All right. Joy. No. Nahahu. No, come on. Help me here. Enahu. Yes. Not here. Okay. And Joy had 5 years of service. We have Mallory Saltzman, 5 years. Yeah, good. Suzanne Henning, 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Yay. 10. Okay. Robin Whalen, 10 years. Ellen Frankowski, 15 years. Yay. Ellen. Heidi Wolfley. I'm sorry. Beg your pardon. 20 years. 20 years. Yay. Come on up. Hey. Karen Paradiso, 20 years. Yay. Oh, here's one. Here's a milestone. And Barbara Laub, 25 years. You want to turn around? She's not taking a picture over here. Yeah, all right. It's okay. Okay, we're going to municipal court. We have Tara Murray Hicks, 10 years. Tara's not here. Yay. Yes? No. Police department. We have Cassandra Simkin, 5 years. Yay. Is Donna Sumner here with 5 years? Donna Sumner. I loved her albums. Wasn't she, right? She was working hard. Okay. We have David Mayo, 5 years. Yes, congratulations. We have Vernon Purry, 5 years. Congratulations. We have Joseph Cerullo, 5 years. All right. Kathleen Vacara, 10 years. All right, congratulations. We have Kathleen Schmieder, 10 years. Kimberly A. Perez, 10 years. We have Craig. We have Craig. Yes, they are all crossing guards under the police department. Craig Hunchkin, 10 years. Yeah, that I got. Okay. Jose Torrado, 10 years. And I know I'm saying the first name wrong. Yeah. Okay. Carlos Baez, 10 years. Michael Pomarisi, 10 years. James Oakes, 15 years. Richard Wright, 15 years. Jimmy Duvall, 20 years. James Ivonic, 25 years. John Perna, 25 years. Michael Marucci, 25 years. And last but not least is Robert Dombrowski with 30 years. Yay, Robert. So a few more. In recreation, we have Pamela Kukuza, 10 years. Over in Public Works, we have Lionel Julian, 10 years. We have Renaud Pierre-Louis, 15 years. Right here. All right, see right here? Okay, John Massey, 15 years. Yes, they're riding the jitney. Okay. Caesar Riccardi, 15 years. Let's hear for William F. Riley, Jr., yay, who has 20 years. 20 years. Yes. How about Donna Lenzi, 20 years. Start at the same time. That's good. And Robert, yes, congratulations. Yes, congratulations. And last but not least, Robert Kauchanowski, 25 years. Okay. Again, we thank you. We appreciate all your hard work, your dedication, and your longevity. And that concludes this year's Longevity Awards. Thank you.
Roger.
It's actually I'm Pin. Yes.
20 years. I hope you got that pin on.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yes, Caesar. Caesar made it up.
Okay, folks, we're going to try to get started. We're going to try to make this sound like a library. Quiet.
Yeah.
Does anybody need an agenda?
Thank you all for coming out. Okay, we are now going to move back to item number 6. No. Anybody need the Board of Health agenda? We're going to move to our monthly Board of Health meeting. And we're going to turn it over to our Board of Health President, India Larrier from Midland Boulevard.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law, 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2013 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2012, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Mr. Leventhal? Here. Mr. Ryan?
Here.
Mr. Larrier?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7 provides that the Maplewood Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and whereas desire the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the vision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Health of the Township of Maplewood, does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Larry?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the December Board of Health meeting. We will start our meeting with a move to accept the minutes. You all received the minutes?
Yes, I move them.
Second. Third.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Larry?
Yes. Mr. Rowe, can you come and give us your report, please?
As far as the Affordable Health Care Act, our nurses completed going in the business districts to distribute flyers to small businesses. So they went up and down Springfield Avenue from end to end, Maplewood Avenue, Ridgewood Road, Parker and Irvington Avenue, Elmwood. So I think they've pretty much covered all the small businesses in town. So I want to congratulate them for doing that. We've been looking at getting more navigator service in the town, and actually there seem to be more navigators now, so that seems to be increasing. So we'll look to work with them. New Jersey Citizen Action helped us with a seminar, I guess it was last week, and it was a small attendance, but actually a very good result came out of the meeting. Was there was one of the school nurses was there who runs a program once a year to help parents sign up for the New Jersey Family Care, because the school nurses know which families don't have health insurance. And so they hold a program once a year where they literally have the families come in, and the nurses and other staff help the families fill out the paperwork. And they literally, at the end of the session, they put them in an envelope and put them in the mail so that they can, get signed up for insurance. It's a terrific project which the school nurse started. So we're looking to see if we can combine that with our Affordable Health Care Act. And the gentleman who came from New Jersey Citizen Action said he might be able to get a group of people at New Jersey Citizen Action to come and help us with that. So we'll be looking to do that after the new year, and it sounds like a terrific opportunity for people who may have actual physically, they just can't get all the paperwork together, to help them do it. So we're going to look to do that as a big group effort. So that was a good outcome. I was very pleased. We're looking to add some more hours to our adult clinic. Specifically, the plan is to add about 4 hours a month to the adult clinic at the Hilton Library, with a special outreach to Haitian Creole-speaking people and Spanish-speaking people. We have a translator that we're going to work with to help us with the advertising, and also if we need a translator at the clinic site itself in case the person and the nurse just can't communicate. So we're pursuing work on that, and I hope to have more specific plans for that hopefully within the next month. I also applied for a grant for that from the Junior League because I saw they had sent out applications. So if we're able to get a grant, that'll help fund that additional hours. And finally, I've had our animal control officer out checking on the weekends for people letting their dogs run loose in the park. And she was particularly busy over the Thanksgiving weekend with lots of dogs running loose in the parks. So we're going to keep after that. And hopefully people will get the message. That's my report.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Rowe?
I just want to thank you, Mr. Rowe. I think it was probably in September when I asked you to pick up the ball on the Affordable Care Act, and you have, and you went a lot further than I thought we would, and it's really great. So I want to just compliment you publicly on your effort to do that. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it and the issue with the computers and all that, but the fact of the matter is there are people in our town and across the country that don't have health insurance, and we're able to get them signed up with a provider, so that's really important.
I have a feeling, things are going to open up now. People are going to understand it more. One of the presentation by the New Jersey Citizen Action is Diego Arias, I think was his name. It was really good, and it helped me to understand the program a lot better. And I'll have to say I came away from the meeting saying, you know what, this is a good plan. I didn't really fully understand it before, and I suspect lots of other people are in the same situation where they just really don't quite understand what it's about. But once they start signing up and talking to their friends, I think more and more people, I think there'll be a snowball cascade effect.
Just one thing on that. Anything you have for us to hand out, we have talked to the Township Committee at Public Works, which is on the 21st, I think.
Sounds right.
Whatever the third Saturday is. But anyway, we get a lot of people there, hundreds of people, and this might be a way we can, if there's a seminar coming up on the Affordable Care Act or something, you want us to hand out, just get us copies. Get us about 100 copies, and that would work.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you. At this point, we come to the time in the meeting when we invite the public to come and address the board. Is there anyone here who would like to address the Board of Health? Being the rush, I will then ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back to the main agenda. We're on item number 8. By the way, if you don't have an agenda, we have them up here at the clerk's desk. We have an ordinance on final passage.
Mr. Mayor, item number 8, ordinance on final passage, ordinance number 2739-13. It's an ordinance to amend Chapter 204 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Transfer of Property. This ordinance will shift the obligation of securing a certificate of continued use upon the transfer of ownership of property from the purchaser to the seller.
Sorry, my granddaughter. Better shut it off. This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this ordinance of transfer of property? Sure. You've been coming to all these meetings. It's about, give you a little time to talk.
Good evening. Bruce Shapiro with the New Jersey Association of Realtors, 295 Pearson Avenue in Edison. I'm joined by several of our local realtors from the North Central Jersey Association and West Essex Board of Realtors, and I want to thank the Township Committee for introducing this ordinance and putting it up for vote tonight, as well as your staff, Mr. Mittermeier from the construction office, Mr. Manning, Mr. Desiderio. We enjoyed working with them on this, and I'm sure they'll be happy not to see me at a future meeting. I also wanted to just bring one thing to your attention that I spoke with your administrator and attorney about yesterday regarding the ordinance, which we once again thank you for and are in support of. That's just the situation regarding when a short sale transaction may occur in Maplewood, which I spoke with them about. Sometimes in those transactions, something is written into the contract where, for example, the buyer may agree to pay the CCUO fee rather than the seller, but the seller still will go ahead and fill out the paperwork and sign it and submit it to the township. And after speaking with Mr. Manning and Mr. Desiderio yesterday, I want to once again thank them for taking the time to discuss that with me. I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that in some scenarios that may occur in a short sale, which I understand there's no reason to amend this ordinance, which we're okay with, just knowing that there are times where, for example, the buyer may agree on their own to pay the CCUO fee, and that's put into the contract. The seller will still actually sign off on the paperwork and submit it to the appropriate construction official here in Maplewood. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention and confirm. I think that's what we discussed yesterday. And
as long as the seller is the applicant who pays for it, it's not relevant.
Okay.
Okay. Well, in that case, once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to hear us at your previous meetings and consider this ordinance tonight, which, on behalf of both North Central and West Essex, we are in full support of. And once again, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on this ordinance? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. And Ms. Leventhal, can we get a motion?
Mayor, move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as the past ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have two discussion items. The first is the Women's Club Building Historic Designation. Ms. Larrier?
Yes, Mayor, we have a resolution from the Historic Preservation Commission recommending that we designate the Women's Club, I believe we're calling it 60 Woodland Avenue, Woodland Road, rather. And I think we do still have Mrs. Kirschon here to answer any questions. They are recommending, I'm recommending that we go ahead and have this designated with the proviso that we are not hindered from doing with the building what would be necessary to do with it. It does meet the criteria, and it has a significant history in this township and a significant presence, and so I would recommend that we...
I was going to ask Mr. Manning to speak on this because we did receive a memo from him, but I wanted to see if any other members of the Township Committee wanted to say anything first.
Mr. Manning.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with this, very much in favor of doing it. I was in favor of it the last time when it came up, and I've seen nothing to change my mind, and a lot to confirm that this is the right move. So,
Mr. Manning?
Just one clarification in terms of nomenclature. You said it does not hinder us from doing what? How did you phrase that?
Well, they act in a strictly advisory capacity. So if we felt that the building was in need of repair or alteration, this does not hinder us from doing that.
Okay.
It just sort of gives it a special, sort of like a really simple way of putting it, but sort of like just a special tag.
And the tag makes it eligible for special funding and things like that. But it doesn't hinder us from doing... You're raising your hand now. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, maybe, Ginny, you could come up.
Well, before she comes up, let's see. Let's get all the questions out, because otherwise we'll be back and forth, and I do want to get Mr. Manning there. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Ryan.
the only thing I was going to add to this was, you know, when we first created the Historic Preservation Commission, when we first designated a couple of properties, we were criticized by some folks who owned historic properties that, you know, historic designation is good enough for my house, but it's not good enough for you. Subsequent to that, we have in fact gone ahead and designated a bunch of town-owned properties. This wouldn't be the first town-owned property or structure that we designated. It's a statement about how the township feels about historic preservation, not just about this particular building. So it's another reason to think that it's a good idea to do it.
Mr. Manning?
I had also been supportive of the idea. I do have some concerns, however. You originally purchased the property to expand parking opportunities. And the building, you know, after a long discussion was going to stay, we were going to search out partners to help us pay for this building, for renovations, et cetera. There's a lot of expenses involved in the building, both to, you know, manage it on a daily basis, but also to fix it up and to get it to a point where it really can be used and be profitable, maybe. So we're searching for that. But ultimately, in the end, it may not be. And there may be no money to, you know, cash from the township, for example, to fix it up or to maintain it. And my concern is that just to make sure that, one, if in the end it had to be raised, that it could be done, that it could be. It would be taken down, there would not be major obstacles to overcome. And the second is that we're going to have to do some, just to get it functioning on a preliminary or an early level, we're going to have to, make handicap accessible, we're going to have to do all these things. What are we going to have to go through as a process to get those things done? Are we going to need historic preservation approval? That takes time. There are, meetings. We want to get this up and running. So I think those are the two concerns, that ultimately, can it be raised without having to go through hoops? Not that I'm saying it has to be, but it might have to be. And secondly, what are we going to do about the interim things that we have to do to bring it up to code, et cetera? Are we going to have to go through a long process to get approvals on that?
I guess the other question I would have is, are we talking the building or the site? Because we also have some potential of putting some additional parking on the west side of the building. So those would be some clarification. Mr. Manning, have you spoken to anybody in the state about this?
No, I did not.
Anyone have any other questions?
I guess, again, I'm not advocating raising the building either. I guess, again, just in terms of that word hindering, this will not hinder us. I guess I'd like to understand essentially what, if anything, would this designation prohibit/preclude us from doing?
My understanding is that it would preclude us from doing nothing.
It will not preclude us from
Will
doing
not preclude us
from doing anything.
It does not hinder us in any way.
I'm not trying to correct you grammatically. I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding, that's all.
It does not hinder us in any way.
Okay, if that's correct.
Bershea, can you come up? We may have some more questions, but you've heard at least a few.
It does not hinder you in any way, which is what I tried to say before. We are advisory. We are not regulatory to the Township Committee. As you pointed out, there are other municipally owned properties that are designated. We have been working very congenially with Mr. Manning, with Tom Malavese, with anything that needs to be done. The Memorial Park is designated. When they did the repairs to the river walls, he checked with us first. They're repairing the skate house. He checked with us. Everything is fine. We've just talked with them about what we think, if there's anything that needs slight adjustment, they've been very willing to do it. Mr. Manning, we've talked to about the ramps, that the handicapped accessible ramp that was put in. I mean, it's just, it's we understand this is
Well,
the property
in
of the
any of
township.
those instances where you just mentioned, did we have to get any approval from the state?
No, this is a local designation we're talking about. It has nothing to do with the state.
So if it was a local, now you might imagine we could declare it a local designation, and then some future township committee in 5 or 10 years trying to raise it could have a more difficult time because it's locally designated.
I mean, I can't tell you what the community will think about that, but legally, you would have, that township committee would have every right to raise it.
Go ahead.
What about the mayor's question about, is it the building or the entire site?
What we heard and what we recommended is the entire lot. If you choose to only designate the building, that could be done too at the time of designation. You can modify the site to say the land on which the building stands.
Yeah,
If that's your choice.
Yeah. If I was to consider this, it would just, for me, it would just be the building, because we're also talking about merging the Highland and this lot, and I think it just becomes more cumbersome to do stuff like that.
That's totally up to you. You're the ones who would designate it if you choose to do so.
What about, now, Yes, you are just an advisory group, but in the instances where you were just reflecting on with Mr. Malvasi and the river walls or the shelter house, that was outside. What about the inside of a building?
We do not regulate the interiors of the buildings.
So it's just the outside?
Yes.
So if we were to put elevators in,
We're just talking about the exterior of the building.
and are we talking about the building as it exists right now because it has, I think it's, some of it is aluminum siding, or are we talking about?
We designate a build, when we designate a building, it's, the conditions are what they are. That doesn't mean that things can't change.
You'd be interested if we were doing a renovation, all other things being equal, a renovation that tried to restore the original character of the building would be certainly a nice thing, but
Definitely.
that's not a
It's not a requirement.
regulatory requirement or anything like that. I mean, that's what
There
we
are no
want to do anyway, I would
requirements
say.
from our point, from the commission.
Bradley?
And again, I'm not opposed or in favor, I'm just trying to understand what it is. And you said this is a local designation. I guess sort of the flip side of my question, the original question being, what, if anything, would this preclude / prohibit us from doing? Conversely then, is this simply a symbolic designation, or what will be different as a result of giving this local designation to the building? What will be different tomorrow if this designation is done versus today? What other than a symbolic designation, what is different?
Because it is a township-owned property, nothing will be different. It's a recognition of the importance, historical importance of the building to the township, and that is it.
It's a symbolic designation.
If it was privately owned, that would be a different story. But
Okay.
because it's municipally owned, there are no effects on the municipality
Okay.
as a local designation.
Okay, it's a symbolic designation in a sense.
Well,
I'm not from the right phrasing.
I do see a difference, and that is that we have the opportunity to consult with our town experts on anything that we do want to do. There may be something we want to do that we haven't, that we don't have the knowledge of how to do it to keep it more historic. Or in the, aluminum siding, if we want to take it off and say we wanted to put brick, well, we would be advised, we can consult, and we'd be advised that, having the wood siding is a preference because of the designation and the historic quality of the building. But we could decide to do brick. So I see there's an advantage in having the consultation from the commission.
Mr. Bradley?
Just clarification, we could not do that consultation today? I'm just asking, I don't know.
Yes, we could.
We could. Okay, so it's not different.
Well, it's a recognition to other people beyond
It's a
this
statement.
group
The statement.
that
Yeah. It is a
you
symbol.
all-
It's a symbol, and it's a
symbol that-
statement and a symbol of our that we value this piece of property and the historic.
But
So
I'm
that's
trying to
what-
understand
yeah.
again,
Yeah.
concretely, what is different? And it basically
There's a lot of double
symbolic.
negatives and a lot of double positives.
It's purely symbolic, is what I'm hearing. There's nothing we could
I'd
do.
say that I think you're right on target. I think it's very much symbolic, and I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I just want you understand if that's what it is. That's all.
Mr. Manning?
Well, would this help us in getting grants, or would this be an extra point or something in the process, perhaps?
This has nothing to do with getting grants. If we wanted to proceed to the next step, which is listing it in the National Register, that's where the grants come in.
Mr. Desiderio, how does this get, this is an ordinance or resolution?
Ordinance.
It's an ordinance, but have we gotten a report? I haven't,
We did get a report.
I have not seen it.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well, we're not going to do anything now anyway, but
Okay, well,
yeah.
then what we would do is, my recollection is it's an ordinance, and,
And then the planning board has to amend the historic preservation element to include it.
yeah,
But,
so
yeah.
we're not doing anything till next year.
Right.
Right.
Okay. did you have anything more?
No, I'm just...
Did you get an answer or something?
I
You
had a
had-
question, but no grants for local designation.
Okay, so what we have received is a resolution of the Historic Preservation Commission recommending that this happen, and then we have a report which was prepared in July of 2013 that is an analysis of the building. So, and it's very good, by the way, Patty, very good. So, based on what I'm hearing here, it seems that we're moving in the direction of doing this. What I would suggest is, Mr. Manning, you had some concerns. Do you want, well, we're not going to be able to do this till February anyway, so you'll have the ability to address any concerns with whoever.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, based on Ms. Kirschland's answers, that we're okay.
You're okay. Okay. So what I would suggest is that since we are going to be the same township committee next year, that we pass a motion tonight instructing Mr. Desiderio to prepare the necessary paperwork to make this local.
You do need to make a decision if you're talking about the site.
Yes.
The building.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I would make a motion that he draft for the building.
Right. It's a motion to draft an ordinance for the building only.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Okay, Mr. Desiderio? Okay. So this is actually going to probably take until sometime February or March because it has to get approved here, go to the planning board. The planning board is probably going to be stacked up a little bit in the early part of the year, so, they'll probably get to it. I don't think it's a big lift there, but there has to be required hearings and all that. So we'll get it on the agenda and get it moving. Okay, the next discussion item is the social media and internet posting policy. Mr. Manning?
Yes, thank you. A couple of months ago, I presented a Township of Maplewood social media policy and internet posting policy to the Township Committee. Our previous policy that we had, or is currently the policy, is an internet policy, and it really was drafted or approved before things like Flickr and Facebook and all those social media really became the norm. And so we looked and we talked with our township labor attorney, and we came up with this policy, which we think is important to have in place. And it basically tells our employees that when communicating in social media, they act at their own peril, that they have to be careful about what they do, and there are guidelines. It's not like you can say anything you want. So this spells it out. It tells employees what, we consider to be, appropriate and what is inappropriate, and legal and not legal. So, and I think it would be a good idea to get it adopted and added to our employee policies.
I just had a thought in my mind. Does this apply to the township committee?
Of course.
Why would you
Well,
say
what? Why would you say
I
of
don't
course?
know.
We're an employee.
We're a
No,
different
I'm
kind
not-
of employee, I think.
I don't
So-
think you really are.
I think.
So if I put on my
especially-
Facebook page that I support gun control, do I have to put a disclaimer that says this view on this post are mine and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Township of Maplewood? Get out of here.
Or
Well,
you could take it off.
I mean, or do you
as
have
your
a
employer.
Facebook page as mayor of Maplewood?
No.
Right, you have your own personal.
Well,
Yeah.
but
So
individuals
what?
have individual Facebook pages, right?
Right.
But your individual page, you can put your employment.
Yeah, so it has me listed as both
well,
of my jobs.
Yeah, I don't think it says that you cannot support things. I think it says that you can't have disparaging comments or things that are negatively focused on township business policies, harass, threaten, discriminate, bully, appeal to racial, ethnic, sexual orientation,
Yeah, no, I
stereotypes.
understand that.
Yeah.
It's the paragraph under it.
Oh, the one under it?
I'm looking for
Okay.
this. There was one paragraph that I thought might apply.
Your internet posting should reflect your personal point of view, not the point of view of the
The township, right.
And then if you identify yourself as a township employee, so during Hurricane Sandy, when I was posting stuff in the middle of the night, did I have to post there that these views are mine and not necessarily the views of the township?
Well, I think it depended on what you were doing. If they were the views of the township, you were okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious. I mean,
Right.
in your position, you were obviously going to express the views of the township.
That's correct.
Right.
It's when you...
So it's when I don't.
Right.
And then I have to disclaim it? No.
Yeah.
And you have to say that they're your views and
Yeah.
not those of the township.
Wait a minute,
I mean,
so,
well, Jerry, you don't have to adopt the policy.
I mean,
You
we're
can modify it. You can accept elected officials. You can do whatever you want, but I think you are employees, okay? And under the statute that deals with conflicts and things like that, I think it applies. I think it also may apply to members of the zoning boards, planning boards, all of the other commissions that are involved. So I think it may be broader than just,
Well, I think I think that becomes difficult, because then I think we're going to have problems of people serving. So I think we want to make it clear that this should be for an employee.
well, then I think we need to define
an employee, yeah.
I'm
I
glad
don't
we're,
think
I'm-
I don't think a planning board member has to live with this policy. They probably have enough policies that they have to live with at work.
I'm glad we're having this discussion, because I came to this meeting prepared to go along with this, but, the more you're raising these
Well,
issues, the more concerns I have about the policy.
And it's the first
Is
I'm
it-
hearing of it after, several months in the
Why we
hopper.
discuss it.
Well, it's because we're
Yeah.
we're focused on it now.
Question.
Yes, Mr. Brantley.
Mr. Desir, and I know this probably ventures into kind of a gray area, but I know in some of the organizations that I've been a part of, the mere fact that you were either the president or the chair of the trustees or so the head of the organization, people tended to associate you with that organization, and almost by default, any statements that you made, even if you were saying it purely as you, were taken as statements on behalf of the organization, if you would. So is it possible that the policy would need to, even if it did apply, somehow vary by who you are on the township committee?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And I'm only referring to the local finance section of the statutes. Okay, local government officers, local government employee means any person, whether compensated or not, whether part-time or full-time, employed by or serving on a local government agency who is not a local government officer but shall not mean an employee of the school district. So, I mean, there are pretty broad definitions in the statutes now that are all encompassing. And this talks about, what people can or cannot do as part of the local finance board. So all I'm suggesting is that we ought to make sure that this covers whom you wish it to cover. That's all I'm suggesting. I'm not saying don't do it, I'm not saying do it. I'm simply trying to respond to your inquiry as to whom it might affect. And I think that the broad interpretation may be that it affects almost everybody who is associated with the town, or has access to the internet. Which
That
is
could be,
everybody.
Well,
that's a problem
here-
with all the volunteers and everybody.
Right. Well, I think
This is this bigger than I thought.
so. There's one way. Ms. Fritzen, the people who have to sign that disclosure form with Division of Local Government, that's not like people on the environmental committee and things
No.
like that, right?
But it is the planning board and board of
So it's
Adjustment.
Planning Board, Board of Adjustment. That's it. Historic Preservation Commission.
No.
So we could limit it to just.
We could exclude, what I think would be better to do is exclude, not include the following groups.
Right.
Right.
Which is typically what, say, Congress or the Assembly, and, they do, say,
problem with these groups are excluded is that can change over time, so maybe
Yeah.
we'd say,
I don't understand what you mean by that.
well, are you talking like environmental advisory?
Yeah.
So maybe
You could just
we
say
don't have
members,
an environmental advisory.
you could just
Oh,
say
oh,
that
oh,
this
yeah.
does not apply to unpaid volunteer members of Maplewood's boards and committees.
Except planning board, board of
Or,
adjustment.
Well, maybe
or
we
not.
want, maybe we want to
maybe
accept
not.
them.
Or not.
right, but take-
Okay,
Right.
or not.
I mean, I would
think
accept
going
them
with
all.
the
I
financial
wouldn't
disclosure-
put
no,
them in
no,
at
no,
all.
no, no. They
I
wouldn't
would,
sign
I
up.
would,
I want to think about
Or
this a
us.
little more, Mayor.
I would not put, I'll tell you, because, I just said before to Mr. Rowe that I thought the Affordable Care Act was good. Okay, suppose I had posted that. Do I have to say that this is my view and I'm not claiming to speak, but I'm the mayor, so I have to say the mayor supports it, or I join Mayors Against Illegal Guns.
Right.
And my name is there.
Yeah.
And I have to say, unless I have authorization in writing to do so?
Well, I mean, aren't you saying that, I think the Affordable Care
Yeah,
Act
but I'm the
is-
mayor.
Yeah.
Or you're a township committee person signs on to something.
But I
You know,
mean,
we sign on to
your
something.
township committee doesn't approve you being a member of Mayors Against Guns.
No, I understand that.
So,
Right,
I
but
mean...
what if we did?
What?
What if we did not approve of
Yeah,
that?
what if we explicitly said, Vic, we don't want you doing that? I mean, it's hypothetically, of course.
We haven't voted.
Hey, look,
It's hypothetical now because there's great harmony amongst the members
Right.
of the governing
Correct.
body, okay? But there could come a time, no, I'm
Oh,
serious.
yeah.
yes.
There could come a time when that-
Not
There's been
too far in
times,
the
not too
recent
far in the
past.
past. May I ask, Mr. Manning, you had brought this to us. The end game on this is that you want this to be a policy of the Township Committee, of the Township of Maplewood, so the Township Committee has to adopt it by resolution.
yes.
And were you hoping to do that tonight?
No.
Because I was going to say,
You started or now?
what I was going to say
5 minutes
is,
ago?
I had read the policy and was prepared to come tonight and
Yeah.
say, yeah, this is
Yeah.
fine. But I kind of feel like I've learned some things that didn't occur to me in this conversation. I'd like an opportunity to think about it a little more.
Yeah, and I'd also like to think about it too, because if it's really just geared towards the people who say get a paycheck, then, what is it saying? Is it really just, if other people are considered to be employees, but they're exempted, what does it say?
But who are we talking about? The five of us?
Or your Board of Adjustment or Planning
Well,
Board?
They're not paid.
They're not paid.
I'll give you an example.
What was that? I didn't hear that.
The planning board chair comes upon occasion and speaks to the governing body.
Right.
And he will oftentimes say that he is expressing his opinion, okay,
Right.
and it is not that of the planning board.
Right.
All right, and I think that's the same type of situation here. If you are expressing an opinion that is not sanctioned by your board, I think you do have to say that. And I think the planning board chairman is a very important position, and he carries weight that people are going to listen to.
There's different kinds of opinions, right? If Mr. Carlson comes before the Township Committee and expresses an opinion about a planning matter, something that's in the purview of the planning board, and then he says, but this is my opinion, I'm not representing the planning board, that seems perfectly appropriate. If Mr. Carlson, as the chair of the planning board, comes and says he's in favor of, a new swing set in the park, or speaks in favor of that, or speaks against something that has nothing to do with the planning board's business, does he have to
He may
disclaim?
not have to, but it's probably good for him to make sure that there's no misinterpretation.
It takes a little bit of extra effort on the part of those who are...
Well, first off, we're not talking about speech, we're talking about posting. This is an internet posting. Right.
Right.
But does that mean that, I'll get to, let's say there was an issue of the 7-Eleven at Valley and Parker,
Right.
okay? And suppose some member of the planning, so there was a blog on Maplewood Online, and people were saying, well, what do you think about it? And somebody who's on the planning board said, I think it's a bad idea. They just said, I'm Joe Schmo. First of all, they use anonymous, but say they outed themselves and used Joe Schmo, and that's their name. And it's
Right, got
Bill
it.
Smith. Okay, so Bill Smith is on the planning board, and Bill Smith writes, I think it's a bad idea. Does Bill Smith have to say, that, this view is expressed as mine and does not necessarily reflect the views of the Township of Maplewood?
Well, if you adopt the policy, the answer would be yes.
Right.
Okay? Should he otherwise? I think there's an issue with regard to it. Yeah, I would tell you that if I were going to do that, and I don't, okay, that I would be very cautious about making sure that I expressed that they were clearly those of myself. Now, I may be in a unique position because my opinions are always mine, and I don't speak for the governing body, and I don't speak for one of the boards. But yeah, I think there is a problem. It is a perception, and I think that's what the intent of the policy is. Now, you may say, well, listen, that's over the top, okay, and we don't want to, and free speech demands that we let this go. But that, I think, is what this policy says.
Let me suggest. I'm sorry, Mrs. Leventhal, you wanted to say something.
Well, maybe this has been included in here, but I know that the League of Municipalities has given some opinion, and they offer some sessions on this kind of thing. And it might be worth calling with their legal department, if we haven't already done that, to see, what they've seen as best practices that they promote.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me see if I can. Does anyone have any objection to this policy if it was for employees of the Township Committee?
Define employees.
Define employees.
Am I an employee?
I am
Sorry.
cutting out the Township Committee, and I'm cutting out the Planning and Zoning Board.
So you're cutting out appointed positions and elected positions?
No, I'm not cutting out appointed positions. I'm cutting out the Planning Board appointed positions,
Right.
and not the others, many others.
Right, I got it. No, I
Okay.
understand, but, right.
So yeah, appointed and
Elected.
elected.
Well, it can't be appointed. Mr. Manning's appointed.
Yes.
Right. So whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Come up with a
Yeah,
better.
so other than people we appoint to boards and committees, volunteer boards and committees, and Township Committee, does anyone have a problem with what's being said here?
What you just said, could you repeat it? So I think I got it.
If you take out the Township Committee
Right.
members and you take out the appointed board and committee members, does anybody have a policy of this applying to employees of the Township?
I do not. I do have one question. And again, it just could be a question of verbiage, and it's going back to the original or whatever. And again, it just may be a question of language and how it's written or whatever. Is this the kind of usual and customary way of saying, you say, or anything that could be construed as? I think that's kind of the way it's written in a couple of cases. Is that the appropriate way to kind of phrase it? It's kind of a nebulous, because that's kind of a judgment type of thing, and maybe that's the way it's always written. I don't know.
Well, the answer is, you certainly try to be as objective as possible because it eliminates the
Right.
interpretation.
Ambiguity.
Could you point me to a
I don't have it right in front of me right here. I know I read it a while ago actually, and I know there was some verbiage that says something, or anything that could be construed as. I can, if I do a search, maybe I can find it. It might take me a moment to find it, though.
Can I say that I think now I would be reticent to approve it for anybody right now without chewing on it a little bit more.
It's number 9.
Let me.
Specifically, this policy prohibits internet postings of any type that might be interpreted in a way.
I would say that should be reworded. I would just say that number 9.
And I'm not sure what the appropriate language is, but that kind of struck me as something that might be.
Anything that would damage the reputation of the township.
Yeah.
Which, I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, let me, Mr. Ryan.
In answer to your question, I don't think I have an objection to it applying to employees, leaving out the people you. But since we're not going to be voting on it tonight, I'd like the opportunity to read through it one more time. But I don't think I have an objection to it applying with the exceptions that you laid out.
See, I think, let me separate the three groups. The employees work for the town and are not policymakers. They're not political. and they don't deal in the electoral arena. So I think a policy like this makes sense. I think those of us elected are political, do deal with current events, are asked to take opinions, do express opinions, and I think it is cumbersome at a minimum, and absolutely, I think, counter to how you act as an elected official or a political animal, to have to keep saying, these views are expressed by me. I mean, it's like the opposite of, I'm Victor Luca and I approve this ad. They have to put on the back, I'm Victor Luca and this is expressed by me and not necessarily the views of the Township Committee. I don't think that's the way it works in the political arena. I think excluding people who get elected, because we don't work. We're not subject to disciplinary action and termination of employment by the township. We're facing disciplinary action and termination by the people.
Look, and that I know a couple people that happened to because of, among other things, positions about anti-war stuff.
So that already exists out there. So I think we're a different category. Then there's this group in the middle, I think, which is the kind of decision makers. And I think the reason that the planning board and the Board of Adjustment fall into that different category is because they have decision-making power. And I think that's where we have to figure out if they're covered or not. Because they're really not in the political arena, but they're really not employees, but they're making a lot of decisions. They're creating and implementing policies and practices that have a pretty big effect. And we may want to do that. And we may want to get their opinion on some of this too. We can ask them what they think too.
They're not creating, but at any rate, I
Well, they do
understand what
create.
you're saying.
No, certainly they do. They do the planning board creates plans. They do a master plan.
But the master plan isn't the master plan until we accept it.
No, that's not true. Planning board owns the master plan solely. And they are the sole arbiter of the master plan.
They have to decide whether what gets proposed to them fits the master plan or not.
Yes.
But we have to approve the master plan when it gets presented to us.
I think I'm
Yeah.
right on this one.
I think so,
I'm right
yeah.
on this one.
Mr. Brownlee, did you have something?
No, I was
Okay.
kind of more of a summary.
So it sounds like we need a little more time to chew this, and there seems to be some language that...
Yes, and if
What timeline would you like for us to deal with this? Do you want this wrapped up before the end of the year, which means one more meeting?
No, it's not necessary. I'd like it to be well thought out and be something that we can live with and not have to run back and kind of correct it. So,
Can we all agree that we'll give you comments by the next meeting? And if you don't hear...
think so, that...
Let's put it on for discussion at the next meeting. It'll force us to think about it and pay attention to it and come here with some refinement of views.
Good idea, man.
And
maybe we can get some input. I'm sure people watching this who are on the planning board and the Board of Adjustment might have some views, so we'll get those views too, so.
But I would like to say that if you have specific questions or objections or points of view that you want to make known to me so I can start to do some background and looking at these best practices and what have you, I'd appreciate it so that, we can move it along.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I'm in favor of what your objective is to try to do with it. I just have my one wording question, and it sounds like Mr. Desirio will have some thoughts on that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, frankly, Joe, I may reread the thing and say to you, yeah, I'm fine. I just want a little more thinking time.
Okay. We now have the consent agenda, and there are two items here, Mr. Manning, that I'd like you to just speak about briefly before we vote. One is the corrective action plan. Could you explain publicly what that is?
Well,
and two is the resolution 212-13, which is the appointing KNTM architects.
Okay. Okay, first for the corrective action plan. So every year we have our audit done, and at the end of the audit, any comments or recommendations that are made about our business practices have to be reviewed by the Township Committee, and it is done at a public meeting, and that's noted and sent to Trenton. And then it's up to us to create any kind of actions to better the recommendations or to improve our situation. And that's what basically you have today, and it tells you when we plan to do it and what we plan to do about it by each individual item or recommendation.
And there are 11 items on this plan.
Yes.
Anyone have any questions about them? Okay, can we go to the resolution 212-13?
212-13. Yes, as part of the Economic Development Committee work, Mr. Tom Malavasi, our engineer, and Ms. Annette De Palma, our prosecutor, but also who serves on the Economic Development Committee, were tasked, Economic Development
Director of Community Relations.
She's Director of Community Relations. So she and he were appointed to seek out an architect who would serve during the process of vetting the proposals that we received, actually, 3 proposals, and serve as, looking out for our, meaning the township's interest. We were given recommendations, Mr. Carlson of the Planning Board, Mr. Steve Maiorella, who is our economic development attorney, gave some, and I think one other person gave some recommendations. They were narrowed down to 3 firms. Those 3 firms were interviewed by Ms. De Palma and Mr. Malavasi, and out of that, they are making a recommendation that K&TM Architectural Advisors be appointed to the position to represent us in the process as we move forward.
And this is with respect to the post office redevelopment?
Redevelopment, yes, strictly that one project.
So, yeah, so this is an outside expert with no specific ties to the town or any specific position.
Yes.
Who's going to be providing expert architectural advice to the Economic Development Advisory Committee as we narrow our choices.
It's not the Economic Development
Committee.
Thank you, sorry. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Any questions about it? Okay, can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
I move the adoption of the items on the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Our second public comment, is there anyone who wants to address the Township Committee?
Hi, my name is Daniel Wright. I live on 41 Oberlin Street. I just want to say thanks to the Township Committee for considering and moving things forward with the designation of the Women's Club. I've been attending the Historic Preservation Commission meetings off and on for about the last year and a half, and just as a member of the public, and I've been very impressed with the commitment of those volunteers in town. They inspired me to help them build a website for the Preservation Commission, historicmaplewood.com. And really the 2 things that I see them wanting is the town to be aware and celebrate its history. And the second part being they want to see this town look great. The buildings look great. And it's, they spend a lot of time, as do you guys with your volunteer efforts, and that's their sole focus. It's, they're all professionals in either preservation or architecture, and I think the Township Committee could really use them more for advice in township projects, modifications to buildings, and things like that. They're really an amazing and inspiring group of people. The second thing about the Women's Club I wanted to say, I know it's using the lot for parking. I definitely think it makes a lot of sense to connect, the 2 parking lots. I think probably everyone in town would agree on that. Personally, I've never found parking in town to be a problem. I know there are people who complain over and over and over again. I've lived here 4 years. It's parking has never stopped me from going into the village and doing business and spending money. That's never been a problem for me. And the third thing, I certainly understand the concerns with the building. I mean, really the thing that's going to preserve it is it being a functional building in town that people are using, and that's, you know, bringing life, even more life to the village. I understand there's been a lot of things happening with Tom Kearns and the HK project, and I don't know where things stand right now, but if there's anything that I can do or members of the public can do to help see that building become you know, a viable operation in the village, yeah, I would love to help more seeing that happen, because that's going to be the long-term thing that helps that building stand.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
Got anything for us?
We'll close the second public comment period. We have reports from department. We have received our construction code official report for October 2013. Administrative reports, Mr. Manning.
Yes, just want to report that our temporary Chief Finance Officer, Ray Carnival, is on duty. He's here on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 until 3. We're looking forward to working with him during the budget process until the return of Mr. Frizzalone. I wanted to report, too, that while we were at the League, and we worked very hard for this, Maplewood received silver status as a sustainable Jersey certified community. And Ms. Leventhal and the environmental people, my office, mayor, everyone worked really hard to get this. And we do have it, and the plaque is going to go up so people can see it. And just wanted everyone to know that we did get this, and it's a great honor to have it. And that's it, unless there are questions. Oh.
Mrs. Larrier, Mr. Ryan, Mr. DeLuca.
Didn't you get an award at the League as well? Did you not get an award at the League as well?
I did. Actually, I was appointed to, thank you, to the board of the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association, which is a great honor, and also I was recognized for 15 years in the field. Actually, it's over that, but that's the mark that they give every 5 years. 10 and 15, yes. As Ms. Mead said, how many over 15 do you have? And, you know, because she was also recognized last year.
Nice.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. Ryan?
It's probably too soon to ask this question, but Ms. Bright's comments inspired. I know that we had a deadline for submissions in response to the RFP for managing the Woodland Road property. Can you say anything about that, or is it too soon?
Sure. No, I mean, I can say that we received 2 today. And I, you know, just opened them, and basically that was it. Tomorrow I'll read through them and see if they comport, and we'll move that process forward.
What is your expectation of support from the Township Committee on that?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, I didn't think that out. I mean, I don't have the plan right now. I want to see what if there was a person there or a group there that absolutely fits the bill, then it's just moving the process forward. If it isn't, then we're going to have to go to the drawing board and start to think differently.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else? I don't have anything for you. Just trying to keep you alive, Mr. Manning, keep you alive, on your toes. Mr. Desiderio.
Yes, Mayor. One item. Recently, the Recreation Department put out a bid for various athletic uniforms, and one bid was received from K Media. I guess it's Co-Media, it's Komedia. And that bid was, I guess, satisfactory. However, the township received a letter, Mr. Knudsen received a letter from them. There was some confusion on our part when preparing the proposal about the quality of the basketball uniforms required. Our bid was based on a lower quality, less expensive brand than was requested by the department. Unfortunately, the pricing that Co-Media submitted cannot cover the cost of the higher price. I apologize, and they wish to withdraw their bid. There is a statutory provision, 40A1123.3, which permits a bidder to withdraw their bid. It needs to be brought to the governing body, and the governing body has to accept it. There is a time frame of 5 days from the bidding in there. This letter is not dated, quite frankly. As a practical matter, I'm not sure. This individual is located at 15 Euclid Avenue within the township. I think the issue is if they cannot produce the quality of the product, frankly, it's probably in the best interest of the township to accept the withdrawal and put it out. I will say that the statute does say that they are then barred from bidding again on this project. They cannot proceed to bid on the project. So I bring that to your attention with the suggestion that you accept the withdrawal of the bid. I spoke to Mr. Manning, and I think the intent is to put it out for rebid at some point. Is that right, Mr. Manning?
So they're never allowed to bid again, or just not on this particular thing?
On this particular project. I mean, the way the bid went out was because Mr. Knudsen was quite concerned about the quality of product. It went out and said a polo, I'm just making up, a Nike shirt or of competent quality or similar quality. Right. And apparently this person made a mistake with regard to that. So,
I mean, I would make a motion that we, accept their withdrawal. And when you tell them, just make sure that they know that they can't.
well, I'll put it in the resolution.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I second.
Please call the roll.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that it needed to be in the resolution. I meant these people should be told that.
I will put it in the resolution, and that by the acceptance, but they are prohibited from submitting anything on a rebid for this project.
Please call the roll.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Branley?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Ms. Leventhal?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Anything else?
What do you
Imaginary friends? What's going on?
Well, I think George Washington and Chief
Did he just-
Tuscan are
they
trying to
just
visit
talk?
us.
They just talked. What kind of shirt do you think they're wearing? Okay, who bid on those Revolutionary War uniforms? Mr. Desideri, you have anything else? Did you ever get a response from Marvin T. Breaker, Esquire, Township of Irvington, on this bus issue?
I did not.
Might you want to send another letter?
I would be happy to send another letter to Mr. Breaker.
Okay, Ms. Fritzen.
Okay, a couple things. Be starting the process with the 2014 parking permits, jitney passes, combos. We have a special late night Friday, December 13th until 8 o'clock. We advertise that to make the department available to commuters who want to come in on a Friday after they get off the train. Again, we have a large, long grace period where the 2013 permits go well into 2014 before there's any enforcement. So we're able to start early on the whole process. New Year's Day, Mayor, 12 noon sharp. And I think everybody's in agreement with that we will be 12 o'clock. It is a Wednesday. At the next Township Committee meeting, I would like to have a ABC transfer hearing at the end of our agenda for the A&P license, which is currently, as you know, a pocket license, not being used, going to another pocket licensee at the moment until they get a location in Maplewood. Of course, you know, they understand the license has to be placed in Maplewood, and, you know, the local ABC yourselves could certainly ask them questions about that. But the good thing is the A&P license, they did get a special ruling, so it has a 2-year life for the purchaser to come up with a location. It's no secret now, but a pending transfer will be coming up. Maplewood Wine Shop in Maplewood Village is also just filed application for a transfer. And I have two licensees, one who's put it in writing, the other one who's spoken to me, that seem that they're going to be closing down December 31st, just due to some rent issues, lease issues on the properties. So once I get that exactly in writing, I'll let you know. But one is on Springfield Avenue and one is on Boyden Avenue.
Okay.
Said it's going to another pocket license, like you can hold two pocket licenses?
No. What it will be, the buyer has not secured a location yet in Maplewood, so it would go, currently it is a pocket license as the A&P is closed down,
Right.
and it would go to this entity.
Who would then hold it as a pocket?
They'll hold it as a pocket until they can come up with a location, but again, they understand it has to be in Maplewood.
Ms. Leventhal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that there was something within the ABC statute that supermarkets are treated differently in terms of their licenses, that the supermarket parent owns it.
Well, it is. It's you're going to have corporate here as the seller from the Great Atlantic and Pacific Corporation. They do own a slew of licenses.
A slew, okay.
Yes.
All right,
Only one, obviously, in Maplewood, but they're making deals right now to transfer, maybe a slew is too many, but a bunch of them.
I thought there were only a couple allowed per supermarket in the state. A very small number,
That's
not
what
a
I was
slew.
told, too.
And RA&P
that.
is one of the exceptions to the rule, that has a liquor license.
But I,
This has been pushed. Okay.
okay, so, all right.
Well, we're going to see it at the next meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What will happen is the licensee that takes a license is probably going to open up a packaged goods store, a small liquor store. It cannot be used for consumption. It will not be a restaurant.
So A&P is divesting itself of its licenses, or some of their licenses.
Well, definitely here because they don't have the store. So it is a distribution license, a full distribution, and I would assume that the buyer will open up a packaged goods store at some point.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Anything for Ms. Fritzen? No. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Okay. Reports from elected officials. Mr. Ryan.
I have two items to report, Mayor. At the recent New Jersey Complete Streets Summit, the Township of Maplewood was recognized for our local Complete Streets policy, which I believe was one of the first Complete Streets policies in the area. This was presented to us by the DOT, the Federal Highway Administration. Very nice. We have our plaque here for our Complete Streets policy. Very nice.
That was a complete report.
A complete report, yes. The second item I'd like to report on is sort of an interesting meeting that Ms. Leventhal and I attended a couple mornings ago, which may turn into a big event in town, and which I wanted to bring to your attention as we try and flesh out what this is. Everybody probably remembers, either when they were kids or when their kids were kids, the Nancy Drew books and the Hardy Boys books and the Bobbsey Twins books and all that. Well, it turns out that all of those books were produced by a syndicate called the Strathmire Syndicate, and the people who started the Strathmire Syndicate were from Maplewood. The woman who was in charge of it, a woman named Harriet Strathmire Adams, lived on North Terrace and helped to start the syndicate that she inherited from her father when he died young, and she started it. Was a great success. So one can accurately say that Maplewood is the birthplace of Nancy Drew, among many other things. And some folks who are connected to the Drainhead House and Garden Association are interested in trying to do, I'd call it a recognition event about this bit of Maplewood history. Ms. Adams has 3 living children who are all octogenarians, and a number of living grandchildren, and they're starting to think about putting together plans for sort of a celebration of this bit of Maplewood history sometime late next year. Invite the family back, have some talks in the schools, maybe have some event here, maybe do something about declaring it, Harriet Strathmire Adams Day, or maybe putting Ms. Adams's name underneath North Terrace so that there's that little bit of history isn't lost. And a number of very interesting ideas were bandied about at this meeting. I report this to you not because I'm asking for any action or approval by the Township Committee as yet. There are some details that would have to be worked out. There are some odd and difficult to describe legal issues, and I spoke to Mr. Desiderio about those legal issues. Mr. Desiderio is making contact with the folks who are bringing this idea forward. Ms. Leventhal and I told these folks that if we were going to do something, I expected the Township Committee would ask, what's it going to cost us, and is there any legal exposure? And so we're going to find out the answer to both of those questions before we ask for any formal action. I wanted to let you know that this was being discussed. Very interesting stuff. I think it could be like a very exciting little thing, and hopefully we will have some more substantive stuff to report to you. After Mr. Desiderio gets in touch with folks, and after this group's ideas are a little bit better fleshed out. But it's a nice thing.
All right. Thank you. Mrs. Larrier.
No report.
Look at you. Ms. Leventhal.
Thank you, Mayor. Also at the League of Municipalities, Sustainable Jersey gave us an award for collaboration. This is an award given each year, and this year it was Maplewood, South Orange, and Milburn, because we are now meeting monthly to look at projects that can be done together. Whether it's Milburn showing a film related to drip irrigation, and then we are using property in South Orange to show people how to install drip irrigation. So, and also I presented on a panel about the Collaboration Award. So that was an honor too. So I will give this to Mr. Manning so it can also be mounted.
I'd like to see you mounted. I'd like to see you mounted, Mr. Manning.
Maplewood, and at League, I also was very honored to be one of 4 towns in New Jersey that presented about our mayor's wellness campaign program, Maplewood Loves Wellness, and learned something from the co-presenters, saw that towns do these projects the way that fits for each of the individual towns, and they certainly down in Trenton like ours, so that's very good news. Because of our Maplewood Loves Wellness program, we were approached by Easter Seals of North Jersey, and I had a meeting with them and Mr. Knutson and Mr. Rowe from Recreation and Health to learn about a grant that they are getting. But through their grant, they're looking to work with Maplewood to provide services, specifically this would be recreation, movement services to disabled individuals. So we will be working with them, and some ideas that Mr. Knutson's had fit right into it, into their program, their grant. So I'll report to you back on that once we know how the specifics will be carried out. One last item is that the Maplewood Garden Club, as you know, was instrumental in building the rain garden at the Hilton Library, along with our own grant writer and New Jersey American Water. at this point, they have gotten a generous donation from a longtime resident and garden club member, Odetta Jackal, and they are in the process, I went to look at it the other day, of installing a footbridge at the rain garden to take people so that they can cross over from the parking lot to the grass at the other end of the garden. And this footbridge is designed after the pattern of the footbridges in Memorial Park. So they're keeping true to the town's design. They will have a formal opening early in 2014, and I'll let you know when that is and have more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Big splash at the rain garden did that?
Thank you.
Mr. Brownlee.
After that.
Dum-dum.
Yes, two items. One, next Wednesday, December 11th, from 7 to 9 p.m. will be the next quarterly meeting of the Maplewood Community Action Program. It's a meeting of Maplewood Neighborhood Association leaders. The representative of the township who will be at that meeting will be our Recreation Director, Keith Knudsen, who will be speaking there, along with Chief Semino. And second item, next Tuesday from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m., I'll be holding my office hours at the Hilton branch of the Maplewood Memorial Library. Oh, and the Maplewood Community Action Program meeting on Wednesday is at the main branch of the Memorial Library on Baker Street.
I think we also said the fire department was going to be there, too.
Maybe.
All right. Anything more? Anything to correct him more? Okay. I have five items. First, I'll give you an update on the post office redevelopment. Yesterday was the deadline to receive proposals from the three final developers. We did receive three proposals. Each of those developers submitted a proposal. The Economic Development Committee, which has been expanded to include, as we heard tonight, we hired an architect to join. It also has a representative from the Village Alliance and our engineer from town and also our retail consultant. We'll be doing the interviews of these developers on Tuesday the 10th. On Thursday the 19th, the Economic Development Committee will have its regular scheduled meeting and will hopefully decide on a recommendation of a preferred developer, and we expect to bring that to the Township Committee on January 7th of 2014. And hopefully the Township Committee will select a preferred developer for that site, and we will begin moving forward. I'd like to suggest, item number 2, I'd like to suggest that we use the December 17th meeting to discuss the reorganization of our boards and committees. Our committee structure here at the Township Committee for 2014. So we'll put that on the agenda as a discussion item. The budget hearings for 2004, we could not get a date except for the 25th when all of us will be here. So we're going to scrap the idea of doing a day long because that would mean that someone would miss all day. We'll go back to the morning sessions, the 4th, the 11th, and the 25th. I'm working with Mr. Manning to make sure that if you are going to be here, the departments that you're responsible for example, public safety will be here on the day you are, engineering will be on the day you are, Mr. Ryan, so that you'll be able to be here for them.
If my plans change such that I can be at all of them, I'll let you know.
Okay. I have my number 4 item is my office hours are December 10th here at Town Hall from 7 to 8 p.m. And then the last is the Davies construction, which we've been talking about. Our building official did inform them that their permit is ready to be picked up. We've been told by their attorney that they're picking up the permit by the end of this week, which is December 6th, and they hope to commence construction, get the site plan, get the site prepared start that within 2 weeks. So that'll bring them right around Christmas time. So hopefully things will move, and it was good that we kept their feet to the fire to get them going. So with that, we'll get a motion to adjourn until my birthday on December 17th,
So
2013.
moved. Will you bring
Is there a
cake for
second?
everyone, Mayor?
Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
How many
Good night.
candles for
Thank
your
you.
cake?
Cake for everyone.